You're live. Good evening. Welcome. This is the Marion City Council regular session for Thursday, December 3rd, 2020. Thank you for joining us. If you're joining us from home, welcome. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Harper?
Here.
Miss Atkins?
Here.
Mr. Jensen?
Here.
Mayor Abu-Asley?
Here.
Mr. Brandt?
Here.
Miss Gedalia?
Here.
Mr. Sternad?
Here. Thank you. This time we have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Well, first on our agenda today, we have a proclamation. And do we have Beth Little with us? Are you with us, Beth?
Yes, I am.
There she is. Thank you for joining us, Beth. Well, this is one of those moments in the life of an organization where, you know, it's well-deserved, but it's bittersweet as Beth is retiring from her service with the city of Marion. Beth, I've known her, I guess, for a long time. Beyond my service on council for the last 7.5 years. And Beth has always, to me, represented the best of the best. She is a symbol of a trustworthy, dedicated, loyal, ethical, and honorable team member. She was, in my memory, she was always the first to arrive and the last one to leave. After every council meeting, that light in the office would still be on for a couple hours while Beth finished up the minutes and did everything. Anytime I arrived, whether it was 7 o'clock or 7:30 or 8, whatever it was, Beth was here. She did her job well, and she did it capably. And she served the city and the residents of Marion and the city councils quietly and capably, always keeping the best interest of the city at heart. There will definitely be a void when Beth is not part of our team. Beth, we wish you the very, very best, and we're going to miss you. I just say God bless you. And I have a proclamation that I would like to make today. Whereas Beth Little began her employment with the city of Marion in 1991 as assistant city clerk, a position she held through June 2018. And whereas Beth Little also served as human resources coordinator and most recently as payroll manager, processing payroll and benefits for a staff of 135 employees in 1991 to more than 315 employees today. And whereas Beth Little worked with mayors Vic Kloppenstein, John Nealand, Paul Wren, Snooks Buska, and Nicholas Abuasili, and 29 council members, and attended 1,272 city council meetings over the course of her career. And whereas Beth Little welcomed hundreds of city employees to the organization and skillfully made each one feel as though they were her highest priority. And whereas all of Beth Little's duties have consistently been performed with courtesy, tact, and superior attention to detail, demonstrating the highest standards of professionalism and ethics to serving the employees and the residents of our city. Now, therefore, I, Nicholas Abuasili, Mayor of the City of Marion, do hereby proclaim December 11th, 2020 as Beth Little Day in the City of Marion. I encourage all residents to congratulate and thank Beth for a job well done and extend to her their best wishes for a long, happy, and well-deserved retirement. I think she deserves applause. I'd like to ask City Manager Lon Pluckon if he has anything he'd like to add.
Thank you, Mayor. As you said, this is a little bit of a bittersweet occasion. I think Beth was the third person that I met when I first came to the city of Marion, not quite 14 years ago now, and has been one of those mainstays, really a rock for the organization for that entire period of time. This is one of those things where it's hard to really explain what she has meant to the organization and to the city of Marion, because for really a couple generations of employees, she's been the one of the first faces that they see. Someone who's been there during all of the major life events, whether it's a marriage, a divorce, the birth of a child, or the loss of a loved one. All of those things would come through Beth, and she made it a practice, as you said earlier, to make everyone that came through her door feel like they were her highest priority. She did her job well with an incredible attention to detail, but also a sense of humanity and a selflessness in public service that really identifies what you want to see in local government employees. So she's somebody that we are definitely going to miss. She might have a successor, but she's not somebody that we're ever going to actually be able to replace. So on behalf of the city, we love you, Beth. We're going to miss you.
Beth, we have a plaque that we're presenting to you on behalf of the City Council, as well as all the residents of Marion and all our city team. And it says, Beth Little, in appreciation for your years of dedicated and devoted service to the city of Marion and its citizens, May 13th, 1991 through March 30th, 2022. And Beth will be delivering this to you, okay? And I would like to ask any council member if they'd like to say anything at this time. Okay. Beth, would you like to say something?
I would. I would like to thank everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to serve the council, the citizens and the employees of the city of Marion. Marion's a wonderful community, and I thank you for allowing me to serve you for the past 29 years. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Beth. We wish you the very best.
Thank you.
It's unfortunate that we're in these times that we can't have a big party for you, but we've done our best here to let you know what you mean to us.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Moving on with the agenda, we have a public forum at this time, which is a section that is set aside for comments from the public on topics which are listed on the agenda, but not associated with the public hearing. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address the council?
I don't have anybody for this public forum.
Okay. Then we will move on to the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as follows, and this includes A1 through G1, resolution numbers 29027 through 29050.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented, including items A1 through G1, resolutions 29027 through 29050. Discussion? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. For the next section, I will turn over the meeting to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abouassli's abstention as follows. This will include items A1 through E5, resolution number 29051 through 29055.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abouassli's abstention. Items A1 through E5, resolution numbers 29051 through 29055. Is there any discussion or comments on any of these items? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. The consent agenda with Mayor Abouassli's abstention is approved. I'll move the meeting back to the mayor.
Thank you, Steve. Next, under our regular agenda, under administrative services, the first item is a public hearing and conclusion of reverse referendum process for the general obligation disaster recovery loan agreement, which is a proposed borrowing principal sum of not to exceed $40 million. We have a presentation on this. We'll open the public hearing and we'll have the presentation.
Quick recap, Your Honor. This is a public hearing on interim financing for the derecho disaster-related expenses. As we're waiting for FEMA reimbursement, short-term or bridge financing is needed to cash flow contracted services for debris collection and disposal of storm-related damages. The project is estimated at $35 million. The cap is still kept at 40 because the waterways cleanup is still an estimate. We just started on that project. We could end up easily anywhere between 15 and 20 million.
Okay. That it? Okay, so at this time, we'll take comments from the public, either in favor or in opposition to this measure. Do we have any members of the public who have indicated they'd like to comment?
I haven't received any comments.
You have not. Okay, we'll provide a little bit of time here to see if anyone is attempting to contact the city clerk. I'll ask staff if we've received comments outside of the meeting.
We have not, Your Honor.
If not, okay, note that for the public record, please. No comments?
Nope.
Okay, then we will close the public hearing and move on to the resolution.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 29056, taking additional action on proposal to enter into a general obligation disaster recovery loan agreement and authorizing use of a request for private placement proposals.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved by Council Member Harper, seconded by Council Member Atkins, to approve resolution number 29056, taking additional action on a proposal to enter into a general obligation disaster recovery loan agreement and authorizing the use of a request for private placement proposals. Discussion, questions for Amal on this?
Mayor, I would note that we
Go ahead.
did receive correspondence from a council member on this related to whether or not there could potentially be any impact to the city's credit rating. And we had discussed that with our bonding agent. And because of the nature of this, even though it is a GL-backed note, it's very short-term in nature. They're not anticipating at this point that it should have any negative impact on our credit rating.
Good, okay. Thank you for addressing that. Any other questions, concerns? Yes, go ahead, Grant.
Yeah, so I think just to summarize the objective of this resolution, it really is to provide us the funds that will bridge us from this time where we have work invoices coming due to that point in time that we will be receiving FEMA reimbursement for our recovery. So it's really just a bridge mechanism to cover us in that interim time. Tell me if that's incorrect.
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
Okay. That clear to everyone? Any questions? There's no further discussion. We'll move on to vote. All those in favor of approving resolution number 29056, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 29057, approving fiscal year 2020 through 2021 capital budget transfer from local option sales tax to capital projects from the Central Corridor Phase 4, 6th Avenue, 19th Street through 27th Street in the amount of $1,600,000.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29057, approving the fiscal year 2020-2021 capital budget transfer from the local option sales tax to capital projects for the Central Corridor Phase 4 in the amount of $1,600,000. Discussion? Okay. All those in favor of resolution number 29057, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 29058, approving partial payment number 4 to Southern Disaster Recovery LLC for emergency debris removal services in the amount of $620,223.19.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29058, approving the partial payment number 4 to Southern Disaster Recovery for emergency debris removal in the amount of $620,223.19. Discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving resolution number 29058, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved. Next item is the public hearing regarding the Marion Public Library new building project, which is continued from the November 19th, 2020 meeting. So do we just continue that?
Yeah, open it to see if anybody at this meeting has comments, and then we would continue to the next meeting.
Okay. So do we have any members of the public who wish to address the council on this matter, either in favor or in opposition?
I have not received any comments.
Okay.
I would note for the record that the city did receive correspondence from a representative from Diamond Vogel Paints. That is a company that produces paints in Iowa that was asking about the specifications related to the project. We did reach out to the project architect to inform them about the process for what they call approved equals. If they wanted to submit a paint that they felt was equivalent to the one in the specifications, they would still have opportunities to do so.
Okay. Do we have any comments coming in at all?
I have not.
Okay. There are no comments from the public. Were there any other comments received outside the meeting that we need to know about?
Nope.
Okay. All right, then we will continue the public hearing. It will remain open until the December 17th meeting. Okay.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution 29059, approving contract and bond with Rachi Construction Company regarding the 2021 35th Street and 7th Ave traffic signal and turn lane improvement project in the amount of $749,582.47.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29059, approving the contract and bond with Rachi Construction Company regarding the 2021 35th Street, 7th Avenue traffic signal and turn lane improvements project in the amount of $749,582.47. Discussion.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Just a question, and I think this is really for Mike. Just a reminder, when is the general timeframe that this project will be underway?
Yep, so this has a late start date of June 21st of 2021 and 55 working days with liquidated damages in the amount of $1,000 per day.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of resolution number 29059, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Next item is a public hearing regarding a request to amend section 176.51, table 6, and 176.51, table 7.
Your Honor,
Yes.
there should be an ordinance 2012 above the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I couldn't unmute fast enough. I apologize.
Oh, no, yeah, my apologies. I skipped item F1. So let's go back to item F1.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 20-12, amending chapter 162 of the Marion Code of Ordinances relating to the electrical code, and this is the final consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 20-12, amending chapter 162 of the Marion Code of Ordinances relating to the electrical code, final consideration. Discussion? All those in favor of ordinance number 20-12, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Now we have a public hearing regarding the request to amend section 176.51, table 6, and 176.51, table 7, regarding permitted uses within the BR Business Regional and the OS Office Services zoning districts. The public hearing is now open. Do we have a presentation? Is Tom with us or, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hi, Tom.
Good evening. Hold on one second here. So as the council's aware, we've received a request to amend the zoning ordinance that we've recently been working through as a new ordinance for the community. And we had indicated at the onset of this that when we're trying to cover and zone the entire community and make pretty large amendments to the code, that we would probably be back to the council and to the planning commission with some minor tweaks and adjustments as we go through the ordinance. And that brings us to where we are this evening. As we've worked through the pages of the ordinance, and now we've moved into working on the mapping of the zoning code and looking at rezoning the entire community over a period of time. We've run into areas and spoke with developers and property owners that have some concerns with some of the land uses that are allowed in certain districts. And so we've been working with the Bjornson family on a few tweaks to the code that they've requested. And we've identified those in the staff report. And that really, I'll just walk through them briefly, really is addressing some of the multifamily or multi-unit living type facilities in a business regional district. And a business regional district would be a district similar to Highway 100 corridor, Highway 13, 10th Avenue, divided 4-lane between like Hy-Vee and Highway 13. Some of the areas along Blair's Ferry Road. So you got pretty high volumes of traffic and more regionally positioned commercial development. Obviously, when we started looking at the ordinance a couple years ago, the concern was putting too much multifamily residential development in those areas. Yes? Oh, I thought someone said something. Too much multifamily style development in those areas just by virtue of the location. But what we have found and what we have noticed is that a lot of the larger assisted living facilities, and multifamily units are actually going in those districts, and hospice care and the different categories or those different land uses are actually going in those regional business districts. So we did receive a request to tweak our ordinance, and we've run that through staff. We made a few comments. The Planning Commission has reviewed the proposal, and they are supporting the amendments that you see tonight. They include adding assisted living facilities to the regional business district, some upper story redevelopment opportunities. So if you did commercial on the first floor, you could do multi-family on the second floor. It also adds nursing homes to the regional business district. And one thing that we've noticed over the last few projects where we've seen maybe assisted living, and there's a continuum of care in the unit. So once someone wants to live, they may live in independent living, and then they move to assisted living, and then there may be hospice units in the same multifamily development. So once it's very difficult to separate those uses, and I don't think we want to do that. I mean, I think we're very happy with how those developments are coming together. Terrace Glen on Albernet Road is a prime example of one of those. When you allow one, you really need to make sure that you're allowing them all, because they're kind of developing in that manner. It also allows that the amendments are allowing townhouse, multi-unit, upper story, and independent living to be added to the office service district as well. And this district would be more of where you would see just primarily office style of development. In addition, we took the opportunity as we're amending these portions of the code to clean up some items where staff, and I'll take full responsibility for it. We were making some adjustments, and we just simply did not put or identify the use as permitted in certain in zoning districts, period. So right now the code does not allow grocery stores in any zoning district in the city. obviously we want to make sure that we clean that up. And so there were a couple of tweaks to the ordinance to make sure that those items were actually placed in the code. So we've done that with grocery stores, and then also included retail sales not exceeding 2,500 square feet in the business districts.
Okay, thank you, Tom. At this time, we'll ask if there are any comments from members of the public.
Yes, there's a Jacob Jornsen at 6944 Doubletree Road, Northeast.
And is he with us?
Yes,
And so he'll be addressing us live?
yes,
Okay.
Jornsen.
Okay, Jacob, are you with us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Perfect. Well, thank you for allowing me to speak. Obviously, I think Tom did a good job of kind of giving an overview on what we're kind of proposing here. With regards to BR, I think we don't really have much concern with that proposed district. We think it's very comparable to the C3 district, which is the current commercial district that we have. Those residential uses that we're looking to add, like Tom said, are the upper level dwellings and assisted living facilities. We just think those would be compatible with that zone and allow for some mixed use developments. With regards to the office district, the proposed OS district, currently the vast majority of our property is zoned office transitional, which is O1. Within that zone, we are given quite a bit of flexibility to develop a wide array of residential uses, ranging from single family dwellings all the way up to multifamily dwellings, along with a multitude of retail, office, and other service uses. With the zoning changes being proposed, that current O1 office transitional district would be changed to the office service district, which is OS. Within that new office service district, a lot of that flexibility is lost or taken away. Many of the permitted uses that we had under that O1 district will no longer be allowed. Retail uses will pretty much no longer be permitted. Residential developments will be limited to just assisted living facilities. The only remaining uses, like Tom said, are mainly office and service uses. This type of loss with regards to development flexibility is a pretty large deal for us, as it would have a large negative impact on not only us, but a lot of other developers with the same zoning classification. Just because demand for office and service developments is already practically non-existent, given the impact the pandemic has had on the overall real estate industry. Therefore, having a zone that only allows those type of uses will severely hinder development opportunities in the near future. So our proposal to kind of help prevent that situation from happening and having impacts on local developers is to create more of a transitional zone, similar to what we have currently with the O1 office transitional district, that would allow for some development flexibility. Like you can see in our proposal, we are proposing the following residential uses, which were townhouse, multi-unit dwellings, upper level dwellings, and independent living dwellings to be added to that OS district. We just think that'll help allow it to be more of a transitional zone rather than just limiting it to just office and service uses. Yeah, so that's all I have. I appreciate you guys letting me talk, and I'll turn it back to the council.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
No, I do not.
And did we receive any comments outside the meeting?
I have not.
None? Okay. All right, then we'll close the public hearing.
Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance number 20-13, approving an amendment to section 176.51, table 6, and 176.51, table 7 regarding permitted uses within the BR, business regional, and OS office services zoning districts. This will be the initial consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 20-13, approving the amendment to section 176.51 table 6 and 176.51 table 7 of the zoning code regarding permitted uses within the business, regional, and office service zoning districts. Discussion. Yes, Grant.
So I just want to make sure for my own understanding here, with the changes that are proposed into the into our zoning ordinance, are those fully responsive to the concerns that Mr. Bjornson just outlined? I think that's a question for Tom there.
Yeah, so I think what was just stated was restating what was identified in the proposed amendment to the office service district. And so, yeah, and you may want to ask for clarification on the representative's behalf, but I think what he had indicated at the end of his presentation was what was proposed and planning commission supported.
Okay, I just wanted to have assurance that where we were being responsive relative to the set of concerns that he brought forward. So it sounds like we are, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I would say that, as we've went through this, and I think not to bring into another subject, but we respond to the concerns that are voiced, and we do review them from a holistic perspective. And I think it's important that the council knows that, we understand that we're amending the code for the entire city. And so while this request came in from the Bjornson family, because a lot of their property is zoned regional business or office service, we evaluated it from that perspective, from a holistic perspective. And so we had many meetings talking about the amendments proposed. And so we're comfortable with what's being identified here. I don't know that I mentioned it, but the planning commission reviewed this as well and has recommended approval.
That was going to be my question, Tom. While we appreciate the concern of a developer, I think my interest is making sure that from your perspective, your department's perspective, this is something that's in the best interest of the city as a whole. And I think you've addressed that, and that this makes sense, and that this is consistent with what you're trying to accomplish with this whole project to begin with, and that this is consistent with your plan for zoning for the city and your vision for the zoning in the city going forward, that it's in the best interest of the city as a whole. So thank you for addressing that. And we'll take any other questions for Tom. Any comments, concerns? Okay, then we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance number 20-13, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved. For the next set of items, I'll turn over the meeting to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we now have a public hearing regarding a future land use map amendment to the Marion Comprehensive Plan from public, institutional to multifamily, a rezoning request from R2 single family medium density residential to PDR planned development residential, and a preliminary site development plan for property located at the northeast corner of 31st Street and 10th Avenue. The public hearing is now open. So Tom, if you can give us a presentation on that again, please. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. So as stated, the applicant is seeking approval to build a multifamily project on the corner of 10th Avenue and 31st Street on the current site of the YMCA. The proposed property is 6.67 acres, and the applicant is proposing three buildable lots for the ultimate development of 3 buildings consisting of 147 units. The public notice, I just want to let everybody know that public notice for the project was mailed to approximately, not approximately, to exactly 179 property owners, and 3 notification signs were placed on the property to provide ample public notice of the hearing. The City Council has received the applications and exhibits, and I think we'll be showing some of those as we work through the presentation here. I'd just like to point out that we're doing a public hearing. There's 3 items within the public hearing. One is the future land use map amendment, one is the rezoning, and then finally is the preliminary site development plan for the build out of the entire property. The future land use map amendment really addresses and is the basis for the rezoning of property. So the future land use map is a part of the city's comprehensive plan, which is the development guide that we use as a basis for rezoning property to the appropriate district and seeing it developed. So the future land use map amendment that's proposed with this project is going from the current designation of public semi-public to a multifamily residential zoning or land use designation. As the council knows and as the neighborhood knows, and I'm sure there's a number of folks on here, this area is primarily residential in nature, north of 10th Avenue. East, it kind of starts to fade into a little bit of mix of commercial and multifamily. As you go north, you get some duplexes. There's some, I think, larger fourplexes as well in the area, and then single family homes to the west. The proposed land use designation is a designation that's used to buffer single family from commercial or from different densities to kind of ensure that we're not creating stark differences between land uses directly adjacent to each other. Multifamily is often used as a buffer between single family and also arterials, collectors, or higher volume traffic streets. The multifamily designation within the land use map provides a wide range of residential uses, including senior related uses or senior housing, multifamily housing, and then as was indicated previously when we were talking about the different types of multifamily housing, you have assisted living and different multifamily uses of that nature. The staff is recommended moving to the multifamily residential designation from the public service, public semi-public service designation. The Planning Commission did review that and is recommending approval. The next piece of that is to actually rezone the property. Clearly, the public semi-public land use didn't support much except for a public or semi-public use. So moving that to the multifamily provides the opportunity for the property to be rezoned to multifamily zoning district designations or to the planned development residential zoning district. It's been pointed out that from folks that we are moving to a planned development district in this area. We are recommending that we do that for 2 reasons. One, the ordinances that we currently have would allow the zoning straight zoning, which means it just gets rezoned without any further review. It would not require a public hearing as a part of the preliminary site development plan planning process, so the council wouldn't see a lot of the details. But the way we like to do this is if you get up to 20 units per acre, we'd prefer that the zoning be reviewed with a little more scrutiny. The notices that the public would know more about it. There'd be a public hearing. So we recommended with the proposal to go to 3 buildings with 147 units to go to the planned development residential zoning district. And so that's why we're here tonight with not only the rezoning, but also the entire build out, the preliminary site development plan that we can walk through as well. And that's based on the density that's proposed. So currently the property to the east and north is currently zoned R2, medium density single family, with the property east and south currently zoned R4, which is 4-family residential and some office and commercial. So you got a mix of uses in the area. The map kind of illustrates where we are and where we're proposing to go. With the adoption of the zoning map update for Ward 2, which is also on the agenda this evening, to the east, the property would be zoned SR2, which is very similar to the R2 that it currently is. So we don't really see a whole lot of changes in this area with the readoption or the adoption of the new zoning map. A lot of the uses will be very similar to, or a lot of the districts are very similar to the way they are set up now. So the PDR zoning district is intended to permit a greater flexibility and creativity as it relates to how a project is put together. And you can see that from the preliminary site development plan. There is a lot of density on the lot. It's over 20 units per acre. But if you look at how it's laid out, they have quite a bit of green space. They've put the buildings are a little larger, and as such, they've got enough green space to offset the densities from staff's perspective. We're very happy to see how they've laid the property out, and excited about the amount of green space being provided. If you look at the details of the preliminary site development plan, you can see they're actually handling the stormwater bioretention cells. So it's not necessarily an area that's been created as a detention pond or a retention area. So it's not a depressed area. So this would just be water with sheet flow and be able to absorb into the ground by virtue of the way the soils would be amended to provide for that. They have the enough green space to be able to do that in a more manicured way. They're showing a dog park. So they've got quite a bit of amenities that they can provide on this site because of the way the buildings are situated towards the corners and towards the street, and it's also tucked behind. So it's a nice green space behind the buildings for the residents. So from a zoning perspective, we like to see the PDR zoning. And therefore we recommended they proceed in this manner. They have done that, and then they've submitted the preliminary site development plan with that rezoning request, and they've done a very detailed plan for that for the entire site. The Planning Commission has reviewed the rezoning as well, and there is a recommendation from them to proceed with the rezoning to the City Council, and that's why we're here tonight for the public hearing. I will say that there was one abstention at the Planning Commission level, so it was approved with one abstention. The rezoning was. The final piece that we're looking at tonight, and there's separate legislation on all 3 of these items, is the preliminary site development plan. And this is the detailed drawing that's on the screen. I understand it's difficult to see all of these details from the audience. I'm hoping that at home you can see that if you're viewing this from Zoom, and you can see the detail that's been provided. As indicated, there are 3 buildings proposed. The initial build out would only be the middle building, or the building that's fronting 31st Street. And so the development's going to be phased. So you'd see that first building come in, and then there would be different phases of the following building. We did receive a petition as it relates to the project. And we did also ask that the developer meet with the neighborhood prior to the meeting. And I know the council has heard us say this. When we see that there's infill or where there's a lot of affected property owners of the development, we do ask the developers to hold their own meeting. We do not attend that meeting. We don't want to be perceived that the city is a part of that meeting. This is an opportunity for the developer and the residents in the area that they're developing to have a conversation about what's being proposed and to make tweaks, makes them aware of what's going on prior to it becoming, prior to it coming to the city or it having to be handled in a public hearing forum. So we really like to have the developers do that. They happily did it. They got some feedback, I believe at those meetings, some positive, some negative. And I think they did what they could to address the concerns, but clearly a petition was filed. And the petition, the council has it in their packet. I've seen that from a number of residents in the area. The issues that were identified in that petition were specifically related to a stormwater runoff, noise, traffic, water pressure, were the items that were really highlighted. At the Planning Commission meeting, traffic was also a concern. So between Planning Commission and City Council, a full traffic study was not conducted, but we did have the opportunity for the engineer on the project to give us an analysis of what he could, just based from in the limited time, and really from their perspective, the peak hour traffic would likely go down a bit with the apartment complex opposed to what was there previously, which was the YMCA, or what is currently there. So the peak hour traffic would diminish a bit. Now that's not a full traffic study. That's just taking the two uses and compare them based on the Traffic Institute's parameters for peak hour traffic from a site based on land use. As indicated, the stormwater would be handled in bioretention cells on the rear of the property. There's plenty of green space, so there shouldn't be any issue with providing enough open space for stormwater. Noise issues have been identified as a concern. When we're looking at multifamily uses, that generally we haven't had too many issues with noise being an issue. I may ask that the developer speak to those concerns when he or they make a presentation on the project during the public hearing. And then water pressure was another subject that was brought forward, and what the water pressure, the neighborhood seemed to think there would be a water pressure problem for them. And obviously I think the water pressure problem would potentially be to the private development. And it was indicated in the staff report that if there is pressure problems with the construction, that they would likely have to include or install their own pressure system to ensure that they had adequate fire pressure, sprinkler system pressure, obviously, but pressure for the residents as well. So there shouldn't be a load or a pressure problem created in the neighborhood. The pressure problem would come to the private development, and they would have to ensure that they can accommodate that through an internal or a private system. So I did walk through for the council. We use the comprehensive plan and walked through very specifically some of the design aesthetics that we look for and address those in our staff report. I wasn't planning to walk through all of those in detail unless there's some specific questions that the council would have for us, or if there's someone from the public that would like further clarification during the hearing, I'd be happy to answer those as well. With that, I would conclude my presentation and ask if there's any questions from the council.
Thanks, Tom. I think one thing you did a good job of is addressing, I think, the 5 concerns that were outlined in the letters and petitions that we had received from people that live in that area. So thank you for doing that. At this time, we will open the meeting up for public comments. And we will first start with anybody wanting to speak in favor of the project. I would assume that might be our developer.
I do have Dave Drown on the Zoom call. He said he would be available. He didn't ask to speak during the public hearing, but he would be available if there's questions.
Okay, at this time, we've got Dave available. Are there any specific questions that the city council would want to ask of him? Is he the only one there, or is Chad Pelly also available?
Yes, he's on as well.
Okay,
I do know we are having some technical difficulties, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to allow them to speak right now, but
okay. We'll open it up first for Dave and Chad to provide any comments.
Can you guys still hear me? Uh-oh. Hello?
I can still hear you, Tom.
Oh, okay.
I can still hear you, Tom.
All right. I just lost City Hall.
So did I.
So did I. I guess those are the technical difficulties, Rachel.
I thought it got awfully quiet.
Just keep talking, Tom. You'll be done by the time you get back on and.
Hey. Oh, there we go.
Poor Terrell's probably sweating right now, working to get this.
Yeah.
In the middle of the meeting.
Hi, this is Dave Drown.
Okay, Dave,
Yes,
go ahead. You want to add any comments on behalf of the developer in favor of this project and as it might pertain to as well as maybe some of the concerns that Tom had talked about? Are you there, Dave?
Steve, yes, I am here. I'd like Chad to weigh in first. I'm kind of the number two on the audio. I know he's trying to connect. Do you have him on the line yet?
Okay. All right, Terrell says he can see him, but we're not making the audio connection.
Maybe we'll just give him a minute or two here. Hopefully he can.
All right, we're still working on that connection with Chad Pelly. Well, it'll be nice when we get back to normal and we can do everything in the chamber here face to face and not have to deal with these technical issues. We haven't had too many actually since we started this up, so they've been fairly minimal.
Council, can you hear? Uh-oh. Kelly, can you hear me?
Yes, Tom,
Okay.
I can hear you.
I think we lost City Hall again. Yeah.
Tom, you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right, I'm staying tight with you. Man, I was like, this is nuts. Now's
Yeah.
a good time for me to lose you.
Yeah. So I think we're still live to the public, but the chambers just isn't showing.
What was the problem with getting me on? I could see you guys and hear everything you guys were doing.
I don't know.
All right, no problem. I'd love to speak.
Let,
Are you speaking with your IT people right now, or how do you know what's going on?
Well, the City Hall on my Zoom has just went away. So I think they had to drop and are reconnecting.
Okay, so Will just messaged me and he said they can see us talking, but they can't hear us. So they're working on it.
Okay.
Tell them they're missing out on all the trade secrets and the secret sauce.
That's right. That's right.
Until they get us back here.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Are you in your man cave, or what are you doing?
I'm in the basement. Yes, yes.
Yep. Where's audio? There for participants, right? Let's see if we can get them there. Attendees. It was. Let's see now. This is the same thing. I'm losing. No panelists. Back and forth.
Can chambers hear me?
So we're losing controls to manage the meeting is what's happening. So we can't allow anybody to speak.
Anybody, anywhere?
Make the panelists maybe?
He's unmuted.
Yeah, he's unmuted.
Several that wanted to speak on F8.
On this one?
F8.
You can hear us, that's good.
How do you turn off computer sounds?
See, that's what happens to you, lose this. What's that?
It's using this computer. It's picking up sound from here.
Yeah, no, it's the audio saying, but I can't get to it. Again, it's further out. Is that menu up there, the meeting control menu?
Speaking here, what would that do to the rest of our meeting?
They've got to be able to hear. Public to be able to participate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess the public hearing.
See what the
can see
Correct.
on the X.
You have, I mean, two options. You could declare like a 15-minute recess, or we could try to just basically reboot the whole system, or we have to adjourn the meeting. Because the public has to be able to hear and participate. That the public's doing all the rest. Nobody knows wrong.
What's that?
What do they know we're doing?
They can hear us from this computer.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you.
We plan to zoom in next time if we install it. And Francis,
Because it's from the microphone on my computer.
we lost like meeting controls, and I think the last one.
So everybody out there can hear you through your PC?
So I have to
We
control.
just go through a complete reboot and restart
Yeah.
the meeting, just if you can announce that.
Yep.
And ask Tom to nod if we can hear.
Yeah, can you hear us, Tom?
Yeah.
We're gonna
Can you
do
hear
a
us?
restart of everything and see if we can get it going again.
So ask everybody to log out, back in
Yep.
5 minutes.
Log out and give us about 5 minutes and try to come back in again. Thank you.
Okay. Did you hear that, Chad?
Yeah, so I'm gonna log.
Will that carry the same connection ID, Terrell?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I actually just restarted that one. It's fresh up. Yeah. Lead meeting. Assign it to the council podium, I guess.
Hello? I'm back.
Tom, were you able to hear everyone?
Yeah. It was, I don't think I could hear them as good as I could before. Like, I think I heard them say that the only audio was coming out of the computer or something, right?
Yes.
Where's Chad?
He was gonna log in.
So you can hear me, Tom, right now? This is Dave Drown.
Yep, I can hear you, Dave.
Okay, wow. I'm kind of new to this too. I finally learned I can't do a phone call with a computer, so I bought an iPad for this to keep it simple.
Yeah. Here, Chad's calling me.
Okay.
Hey there.
Tom, I'm online. I mean, they can't hear me or see me.
Are you? Huh.
I'm on Zoom with my hand raised.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second. We're starting to get City Hall back here. Well, yeah, so you're on Zoom? Huh.
Why are we're in two alternative universes.
Yeah, this is weird. Huh.
It was interesting. We can see you. You were talking, you and Kelly, Tom, but you
Oh,
can't.
yeah? It's weird. All I know is that.
I don't think he knows.
Oh.
You can't see me, can you, Tom? That's my biggest concern.
No.
Okay, they said they can hear us in council chambers.
Can you hear me?
Here, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I think we can do this with just audio.
You guys can hear me. This is Chad.
We can, Chad.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, awesome. Geez, I thought somebody like Hunter Skogman was sabotaging me. Well, council and mayor, thank you. I'm glad we finally got things working here. Yeah.
We're still on pause.
Yeah. Oh.
Hang on, we have not restarted yet. We're still taking a little recess, trying to make sure everything is hooked up, so hang on, please.
Thank you, Steve.
Dave, were you laughing at me?
Never.
So give us a couple more minutes. I think we're getting it.
Seems like the controls are responsive again, so see how it goes when everybody gets back in the room here.
All right.
Or do you want Kara on? Have 1 minute? Yes, Mayor, before we restart,
Mimi?
please. So everything's back to normal. Response, I'm assuming we're back. Podium, technical. Just to show you.
Go ahead. All right, it looks like we have our technical matters resolved. We thank everybody for their patience during that several minute delay. So we are back with the open public hearing regarding the future land use map amendment to the Marion Comp Plan and the rezoning, as well as the preliminary site development plan. And this is for the property located at the northeast corner of 31st Street and 10th Avenue. So the last time as we got cut off, Tom had just completed his comments. Now, again, I think he did a good job addressing some of the concerns that were outlined in the letters and petitions that we received as it related to water pressure, water runoff, the noise issue, traffic study, and the density. So at this time, we will open it up to those in favor of it, and I believe then we now have contact with Mr. Pelley. Chad, are you there?
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you, council and mayor. Appreciate the opportunity this evening. I think Tom did a wonderful job of presenting. I just have a few items to add, and then obviously I'm here to answer any questions. I think this project for us is a great opportunity for the city and us as developers to take what I would call an underutilized blighted site in a location located near schools, medical, shopping, parks, etc., and turn it into eventually a tax-paying and amenity for the city. We've been already fortunate enough that this comes with a brownfield redevelopment tax credit award, and we will be applying for the workforce housing in the spring, and feel like this is one of the projects that will definitely qualify and meets all of the checkpoints that they have. And with the city support, we think that we would treat this as any of our other projects that we own and maintain. I hate to say with an iron fist, but our properties are what I would consider the highest quality of construction, as well as managed by our team. This property, as mentioned by Tom, has 60% green space that can be usable. We will have innovative low impact development, stormwater management practices, and other green building principles that we will develop in these projects, including solar for a portion of the utilities and other things like that. Like I said, this is probably one of those sites that is the most walkable and most conveniently located to amenities that I can think of in Marion at this time. It comes with a high price tag, of course, because it is the existing YMCA site, therefore justifying why we're trying to squeeze a little bit more density onto it. But we think in a manner that affords us a really unique property with two different price points between the two types of building, all of which are market rate. And per your own housing study completed recently, there's definitely a need and still a pretty good gap. In the end of the day, our intentions here are to, I guess, as Council Member Gadalio said, is to continue Marion's progress in a responsible and collaborative manner. With that, I'll open that up to any questions that may be specific for me.
Okay, Dave Drown, do you want to make any additional comments in favor of this project?
Yeah, just briefly. Am I on audio? Is it working?
Yes, you're fine.
Terrific. Thank you. Yeah, I would echo everything Chad said and just add that GLD Commercial, we're partnering with Chad and his company, Almond Companies, on this project, 50-50 venture, if you will. In addition to Chad and Almond's investment and success in the Marion community, just as a reminder to council and or residential property owners in the area, that we, GLD, spearheaded the effort to bring the Marion Marriott Hotel Town Place Suites to the market, along with Starbucks and the other retail components that are adjacent to the hotel. So we are very positive. We are very bullish on Marion. We only want to bring the best to Marion. Both Almond Companies and GLD are both at places in our business life cycle that we don't need to do every deal. We don't want to do cheap projects. We want to do quality projects. We want to do projects that we can be proud of and that we can partner with communities on, and that communities that would welcome us and our projects and ideas. So I think, with that, we want to do this right. We want to do it right for not just ourselves, but for the neighbors and for the city. And the project that's before us today is not our first submittal, our first concept. This was kind of a third iteration after getting a lot of feedback from people in the community, including city staff and so forth. So we're trying to put our best foot forward. Some developers will come to a community and play a little bit of a game where they'll try to submit something they know has no chance, and just to stir the pot, they'll show like 300 units on a property, realizing that won't happen. And that ultimately, maybe if they submit something that is less than that, everybody will seem happy and relieved. We're not going to play those games. We just want to come in with what we think is a first class opportunity for everybody, including the green space, the parking shielded from the street, no garage doors facing streets, which has been kind of a concern. So I think, we want to do it right and without, overdoing it. We love Marion. We love the opportunity here, and we want to make sure it's done professionally and in a cohesive manner that fits in.
Okay, thank you. As long as we got you on the line, I got one question to ask you to comment about, and that'd be related to the preliminary site development plan. And that is both driveways exit out on 31st Street. There's not one on 10th Avenue. That concerns me. I don't know what the reaction would be for the other city council people. Could you comment on why you did not put a driveway out on 10th Avenue?
Yes, essentially, how do I say this? 10th Avenue is a cluster as you go east. And our intentions after speaking with the engineers were that as long as we had the access that met fire, coming out onto 35th seemed like a safer route for folks and less of a confusion if they were to head east unintentionally. We also think that larger building along 10th creates a kind of a buffer for the commercial and the lights and the things to the south of the project. And that was really the only two reasons why. If the council so chose to want to see that differently, we could reconfigure that building by removing the driveway between the L-shaped building and the other building to the north and putting the one all the way on the east side of this property out onto 10th and just lengthen that building to accommodate the units we would lose along 10th. We don't want to let that be a sticking point.
Thanks. I just wanted to get your comments during the public hearing portion. Okay. Are there any other people on as part of the public hearing in favor of this project?
Yes, Nick Glue would also like to speak.
Okay, Nick, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Nick Glue, President of Marion Economic Development Corporation. I just wanted to share a little bit of perspective. As you know, this is a property that has been on the market for the last couple of years as the YMCA has been positioning to relocate to its new facility. We've had the opportunity to work with 3 different development organizations and individuals who have brought, I guess I would say, different iterations of a somewhat similar project to this site. We had a developer that proposed a site that was, I guess a site plan that was significantly more dense than this, and I think we could all agree was not the right fit for the neighborhood. We had a developer that proposed initially some amount of commercial in the area, and I think we all kind of agreed it wasn't necessarily the best fit. This particular proposal seems to strike the right balance for obviously a desire to bring some amount of density to this area, because I think, as many of you know, redeveloping a site like this is very different than doing the same type of project on a greenfield site on the edge of the community, where you're not acquiring a building such as the facility that sits there. You're not dealing with brownfield issues that exist. On a greenfield site, you have essentially a clean slate, and so that's a little bit more affordable to do. Therefore, sites like this really demand a right balance of density. And I think as you look at this and you look at the site plan, from our perspective, we think that this developer has done a great job respecting the neighborhood, incorporating green space while still bringing forward a project that we think and hope will be financially viable as well. So I thank the council for their consideration, and I think from our organization's standpoint, we support the particular project that's been submitted.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Do we have any other people to speak in favor?
I have not received any other comments.
Okay, do we have anybody online to speak against this project?
I'm not seeing anything, no.
Nobody else online? All right, seeing no other comments from the public, this public hearing is now closed. We'll now move on to the resolutions.
Yes, Your Honor. I move to approve resolution number 29060, approving an amendment to the future land use map of the Marion Comprehensive Plan from public, semi-public to multi-family residential for property located at 3100 10th Avenue in Marion, Iowa.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve resolution number 29060, approving an amendment to the future land use map for the Marion Comprehensive Plan for this project. Okay, discussion, comments by the city council? Okay, seeing none, those in favor of approving resolution number 29060, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Resolution 29060 is approved with one abstention. Thank you.
Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance number 20-14, approving the rezoning request from R2 medium density single family residential to PDR planned development residential for property located at 3100 10th Avenue, Marion. Green Park Apartment Living LLC, initial consideration.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 20-14, approving the rezoning request for this project. Are there any comments or discussion from the city council on this rezoning? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving ordinance number 20-14, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. The ordinance is approved with one abstention.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 29061, approving a preliminary site development plan for property located at 3100 10th Avenue, Marion, Iowa, Green Park Apartment Living LLC.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve resolution number 29061, approving the preliminary site development plan for this property at 3100 10th Avenue. Will.
Tom, can you again repeat what you said earlier about the traffic? You said there was a minor or a little traffic study or something done. I didn't quite catch it all.
Yeah. Yes. Hold on one second. So in the packet that the council received, there was the engineer on the project went through. I'm trying to find it here. It's just taking a minute. They did not do a full traffic study. There just wasn't the time to do that between the planning commission and city council, but they did provide, Matt Johnson with Hall and Hall Engineers provided a memo that just addressed from a land use perspective. There's a book. It's called the Institute of Traffic Engineers Trip Generation 10th edition book, in which you can take in different land use types, have identifiable trips they generate on an average basis. So this is what traffic engineers use to determine loads on streets and signalization and such. It's a big, thick manual that has every type of land use in it. So in that document, they took a multifamily housing project and a recreational community center and put them together, and identifies, AM peak, PM peak, and traffic generated by the buildings. And really the PM peak's the one we always see kind of the issue with, the 5 o'clock traffic. And what you're going to see is a recreational center of this size is showing 37 trips, and apartment multifamily building is showing about 25. So actually, the peak hour traffic in that area should be reduced a little bit. Now, this is generalization, so it's not, there wasn't a whole lot of detail put into this. This was just kind of broad brushing it, but it does suggest that there wouldn't be an increase in traffic. So I think that's helpful to understand. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Tom, could you give us the staff's comments or perspective on what you would see would be the impact of having both driveways on 31st Street versus one on 31st and one on 10th Avenue?
Yeah, I mean, it's that was brought up in the review process, and I think Mike's on the line too. He might be the better to speak to that issue if he's available. I can speak to it as well, but Mike, are you wanting to talk to that issue?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I don't, because they're both classified, I believe, as collectors or minor arterials. I don't know that it's going to matter too much whether there's one driveway on 10th and one on 31st, or if both are on 31st. I really don't know that it's going to have that much of an impact.
Yeah. The one thing that was brought up and discussed in our review process, and I've mentioned this to a few folks, is that with both accesses onto 31st Street, in the event that 31st Street closes, you're losing access to the entire site. And so I know that was one topic of conversation. So if you had it exiting onto 10th Avenue and one onto 31st, if there was construction or intersection issues at 31st and 10th Avenue, there would always be that second egress off of 10th Avenue, for emergency services or what have you.
All right. Other comments, questions, Grant?
Yes, I want to acknowledge the work that the Planning and Zoning Commission did as they reviewed this and passed it along to us. And so I mean, that weighs significantly in my thinking on this. And I should say over the last several days, I've really thought a lot about this project. Strictly for the record, I just want to say, I think one of the stated but perhaps unstated concerns that came forth in the petitioner's correspondence was the scale of the buildings to close proximity to single family residential housing. And I just, that's not going to change or influence to the negative how I'm going to vote on this, but I do just want to draw forward that the comparison of scales of buildings, large volume buildings immediately across the street from residential homes. And I just think that's a consideration that needs to go into some of these opportunities as we go forward. So that's kind of where my concern rests, but it's not going to have a negative influence on how I will vote.
Yep. Other comments, questions by the city council? I think when I looked at this, I certainly I do like the amount of green space. I think the setback from the roads is more than normal. And certainly the quality of the construction that they have shown is going to be very acceptable in that area. It will be different for some of the people in that area with the buildings along 31st and 10th Avenue, although less on 10th Avenue, but there's still on that northeast corner a substantial amount of green space I think a lot of people will still have in their backyard to look at. Again, I think a lot of people have enjoyed all that green space for the last 50 years and would like to keep it, but I don't think that is anything that's going to happen. There's some projects going to happen on this space, and I think this is a good project from my perspective. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of approving resolution number 29061, approving the preliminary site development plan, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. The resolution is approved with one abstention. I'll move the meeting back to the mayor.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, next is a public hearing regarding an update to the Marion zoning map for the property located within the City Council Ward 2, which includes precincts 5, 6, and 7. We'll open the public hearing. So presentation, Tom. Okay. Lon, do you have a presentation?
Tom's muted.
Oh, is he muted? Okay.
You're muted, Tom.
My apologies. No, my computer, it took a while to pull my staff report up. My apologies.
Okay, it's all right.
So give me a couple seconds here just to get my place back in order. So the council was provided some hard copies of the map illustrating the proposed rezoning of Ward 2. We've tried we've tried to do what we can to get the notice to get the word out that we're proposing this rezoning. I was able to confirm, and Robin with the Marion Times did send me a text and said, "You missed the article, Tom." And there was a briefing in the Marion Times, I believe, on the proposal. But as the council knows, we're moving forward after we updated the zoning code to rezone the community. This is not uncommon. The city of Cedar Rapids just rezoned their entire community over the within the last couple of years, and it adopted a complete new zoning code as well. So it's not uncommon to update your zoning and your zoning map. It's certainly allowed for and supported to make sure that your ordinances are in line with current standards. So we're proposing Ward 2. We held a public hearing at the Planning Commission meeting with limited feedback from the public on it. This area is primarily residential. There are not many what I would call or consider drastic changes. There's from a non-conforming uses perspective, we don't have a knowledge of creating any non-conforming uses in this ward with the proposed zoning. There may be some structures that are created that are considered non-conforming, just by virtue of, maybe they were built when the setbacks are different, and some of the setbacks are changing within this code. But there's remedy to that situation if something comes along. So with that, I mean, it's very difficult to walk through a map of the size and address all the issues. So what we've tried to do is just let folks know that we're working through this. We held meetings about a year ago, actually, in the wards, and gave residents the opportunity to come in and take a look at the new map, the old map, ask questions. Honestly, we didn't get a great deal of feedback at that time. And traditionally, and I think if you ask any community that does this type, it's very difficult to get feedback. I do think we'll get more feedback on the other areas because they're not as easily rezoned without creating the potential for, or without creating non-conforming uses and structures. So with that, I'd ask if there's any questions of the council on this. And I understand when I say this, it's kind of, I guess it was a little bit futile in trying to provide public notice. We obviously can't send a notice to every property owner regarding this. So we tried to use the news media outlets, and we did post the notices at City Hall and other public buildings to ensure that at least, but we all know that many people aren't going to the public buildings. So with that said, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer those.
Okay, any questions? Well, yeah, I think the questions will come during the
Yeah.
actual resolution. Um, This is the public hearing portion. Do we have anyone who would like to comment from the members of the public? Anyone wanting to address the council either in favor or in opposition?
Yes, the first one is Randy Lucor, 4099 Derrick Drive.
Okay, Mr. Lucor, are you on?
Yes, I am. And also, I should mention that my residence is 115 Marion Court. The 40099 is my business's Marion address. And I wanted to thank you to give me the opportunity to speak. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is what Tom brought up in nonconformities. I do realize that this area does not have a whole lot of those, or maybe very little at all. But I've just been brought into this issue recently here. I have a property in another ward that would be potentially a nonconformity. And my comments today are just in regards to this whole process in general. And that I think it's important that existing property owners and business owners that have been operating underneath the legal guidelines that have been set forth for them are protected in this process going forward. And that some kind of conditional use or grandfathered nature should be allowed for them. So whereas if we have another Direcco or another disaster that hits our area, that they aren't forced to go out of business or something along those lines. And that's all my comments are for today. Just in regards to this process, I will have more comments in the future on other wards in specific.
Okay, so did you have any concerns with this particular map?
Not with this map in specific, just the process in general that's being used.
Okay, and what are the concerns?
Well, I feel that my concern is that this process is being used to try to eliminate unwanted property in Marion. Again, not specifically in this ward, but in other wards, there might be properties that are just deemed undesirable that were put there legally and been operating for a number of years. And I just want to make sure that those type of business owners are protected in this process.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone else?
Yes, Seth Green, 550 Lindale Drive.
Mr. Green?
You're muted. Hi there. I appreciate you letting me speak. I've got some of the same concerns on the process, I guess. So I've spoke at other meetings because I'm proposing a new project, but I also have an existing project that will be a non-conforming business. But the process, I guess, is where I have some issues. And that is, and the first time I spoke, I said, I feel dumb that I did not know this zoning thing was going on. But just like this, to me, this is a huge thing for the city that should have been probably plastered all over, television news, and that I don't know if we've done a good job or the city's done a good job of getting that word out. And I guess if it's going to affect business and houses, for setbacks and things like that, that they're going to be non-conforming, that I would have thought through this process that those properties would have been identified. And even a simple postcard. I know that when we developers want to do a project, there's a process that, within a 300-foot area or a 300-yard or a 1-mile radius, notices have to be sent out. And I would have thought that with the impact that this is going to have on businesses, because this will cost, well, I know on mine, if I'm a non-conforming and I cannot rebuild, it will cost me millions of dollars and potentially could put, I think we have 7 employees at this office. This is our main office. It could potentially put 7 people out of business. And I think with that impact, that I don't think it would have been that hard to identify properties and send a notice saying, hey, listen, we're going to be rezoning the city. This is what's going to take place. We're going to make it non-conforming. And you could potentially be out if you have, like the windstorm we had or a fire or whatever.
I think they could have done a lot better job at it. And the other concern with this process is, so with this pandemic, you know, all the things that are going on, is there a better time to actually try to get this approved? So we've got a pandemic going on, kids are out of school, they're being homeschooled, so parents are distracted. We're right in the middle of a holiday. We're just got over this windstorm that we're still dealing with our claims and our repairs. This seems like a time when you're going to get the least amount of comments. And I just think that comments or just a simple postcard could have been sent out, and these comments could have been, I know I would have showed up if I would have known this was going on to these public meetings a year and a half ago. So with that, I guess even on this, that property owners, I know that I've contacted other individuals in my industry, and they didn't even know any of this was going on. So I don't know if the city feels like they've done a good job of explaining this and getting the word out or not, but I think we need to take a real good look at it. Is this the right timing, or should we wait? You know, if you listen to the news, 70% of Americans will be vaccinated by the spring. You're talking, you know, 2 or 3 months that this could be tabled or put on hold. And then you might get a good, I know I've been to city council meetings before, and there's a lot of people that show up and comment. I've actually been paying attention to the last month of comments, and there's hardly anybody that participates in these meetings. And I just think that, I don't know if there's a big rush on it. You know, it was a year and a half ago, that maybe it's better just to maybe take a hold and get the word out to all these property owners. And it could just be residentials that don't meet the setbacks, or, you know, it's not just businesses. I think anybody that was affected should be personally contacted with a postcard saying, hey, your property has been identified, that you might not be able to rebuild or whatever. So, and I appreciate you listening, and I will have comments on the other wards. So
do you have any particular concerns with this map?
I do. I don't see, for my business, I do not see any zoning that would allow it. My business is one that actually requires, they want something in proximity to their home. They need closeness within a 3-mile radius. I see no zoning that would allow my business to be there. That's one of the things that I can kind of give you a perfect example of a city that does this. We have a business in Waterloo, and Cedar Falls is one where they have all the businesses in one area, and it created a nightmare for the traffic. And they actually dug a tunnel under one road because it was such a nightmare. They are a city that wants everything in one area, and then the residents in one area. My comment would be, I would like to see Marion as a whole, that you would have these neighborhood areas that you could shop, you could do business, and that it would be spread out throughout the city. But I see no zoning that would allow my industry in this area at all.
Okay. Any other comments from Mr. Green, or is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have not received any other comments.
Okay. Have we received comments outside of this meeting from anyone other than the 2 gentlemen who addressed us tonight?
I have not.
Tom?
No.
Okay. All right, so we will close the public hearing portion. Councilmember Gadela?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I move to approve ordinance number 20-15, approving an update to the Marion zoning map for property located within City Council Ward 2, which includes precincts 5, 6, and 7, and this is the initial consideration.
Second.
Okay, it's Been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 20-15, approving the update to the Marion zoning map for the property located within the City Council Ward 2, including precincts 5, 6, and 7. Initial consideration, discussion, and this is a time when we could ask questions of Tom, maybe address the concerns that were brought forward by the gentleman who addressed us. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I think from an overall standpoint, we've all been wanting to get these maps and the city comprehensive plan updated. And I think the Ward 2 that we're considering tonight is probably the one that is going to have the least amount of change, the least amount of concern by anybody living in it because it's primarily residential or some future development. That said, I'm okay with what's being proposed tonight, but as we go forward, I think there certainly is merit in the comments we heard tonight in that a lot of people, it's very difficult for Tom's department, I think, to properly and effectively get communication out to people given the COVID. I think we've seen the comments as we've been online like this, fewer people getting online, maybe some not knowing how to, some not having the technology, some not being comfortable with it. So I think as we go forward, my comment is really more about what do we do with the future wards that need to be considered that are going to have, I think, a lot more impact on non-conforming businesses and have more impact on people that are already out there that have a business or may want to have a business in an area. So I would probably suggest we have discussion about how quick we really need to do that. On the other 3 wards, I'm not sure we need to delay this one. I think it's least impact. The other 3, I have probably a greater concern about trying to rush those through. And I'd be more comfortable delaying those until things are more normal and we can effectively communicate these changes and open it up for some more public meetings that I think are going to be more effective.
Your Honor.
Yeah, go ahead, Renee.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to echo what Steve is saying. I don't see a need to delay. I've been on city council now for almost 3 years, and I think this was the biggest part of my platform was getting this done. So it's certainly been talked about for years. It's a huge process that planning and zoning staff has really been doing a tremendous effort on. I don't want to delay it, but I do appreciate the gentleman's suggestion. That we just have to roll with the times we're living in. And I think we just need to maybe consider postcarding the areas impacted about upcoming discussion and the opportunity to participate via Zoom, because that's the world we're living in now. I wouldn't be for delaying it, but I would be for going above and beyond what we've had to do in the past, given the situation, to announce the consideration of rezoning future wards, because I do welcome that discussion and what people have to say, but I don't want to delay this. We really need to do this.
Okay, thanks, Renee. Colette.
Renee stated what I was thinking is that we just need to find maybe some alternative ways to engage our constituents to get their feedback in the process.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead, Grant.
Yeah, so my ears really perked up when I heard the comment, I think it was from Seth, about when vaccine would be generally available for the COVID to the general public. And I would, as we think about how we need to conduct our affairs, our business, I would really caution us to listen to anything that sounds about early availability of the vaccines. Because I think, quite honestly, the general population, what I have heard is that it's going to be mid-year before, we have substantial coverage of our population. So I guess with that being said, we should, I think, factor this into the pace at which we address the future areas for rezoning and use that time, if we adjust our pace, to augment our communications and dialogue with affected property owners has been expressed. So I don't want to see this come to dead still, but I think we have time, and in the interim can increase our communications profile to affected property owners.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Tom, just for everyone's purposes of information, what is the process in terms of notifying particular property owners that are going to have a change in zoning?
Well, the way that, as was indicated, when we do a property rezoning like the one that was on the agenda tonight, we do postcards to folks that are within 250, 300 feet. Actually, we go out further than that and kind of use some landmarks when we do it. But it is difficult to basically send a mailing to the entire ward. We've tried to put it in newsletters. We try to communicate with the press. You know, it's rezonings aren't that exciting for news coverage, and we can't make them cover us. I can assure you that we'll get more coverage if there's a discussion about non-conforming uses and businesses than we would otherwise if there's not much going on with it. But that's not always that kind of press that we want, clearly. But the idea of upping our communications plan has certainly been discussed internally, and I think, you know, and I hope the council recalls when we brought this forward, we specifically went with this ward because we knew there weren't a lot of changes, there weren't a lot of majorly affected folks, and we wanted to see how it would fly with the availability of posting. We didn't know what the press would do. We didn't know if we'd get covered or not. Obviously, the Times covered us a little bit. We didn't know if people were paying attention. We've found out that there's not a lot of people paying attention. So I do think it warrants a relook at how we communicate with the public on these particular items. We did note that we've tried to post things in public places, but obviously people just aren't out in the public, so it's very difficult. So I don't know that we had planned to bring forward the next ward until we had, you know, some resolve to this one and had some time to analyze how it went. And so, you know, I think before we move forward with another one, we can bring back a communication plan to the council to specifically identify, you know, these types of issues.
Okay, thanks.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. Appreciate it. I think that's helpful.
What, if I could, Mayor, just also, I've spoke to numerous folks about the nonconformity issue and what that is. And I think at the next council meeting, I just want to do a little briefing to the council on nonconforming uses, structures, lots, and how that works with zoning, and just kind of be able to provide that information. I think it's very prudent right now to discuss. So I'll put that on the agenda. And I wanted to say that now because I know Seth is on here and Randy, and I've talked to them both about nonconformities. So I think, you know, we could probably even have some legal discussion on these things as well, because I mean, that's where this usually, legal usually gets involved in a nonconformities issue. So I'll plan to do that at the next city council meeting.
I think that's a great idea. 'Cause that was going to be my next question to you, and I'm sure it's on the minds of other council members. So I think that would be very helpful for everyone if you would do that at the next meeting. Okay, any other questions for Tom? Discussions, concerns about what's before us here? Ordinance number 20-15. None. Okay, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance number 20-15, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the initial consideration of this ordinance has passed. For the next item, I need to turn it over to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 29062, approving Nottingham Hills 9th edition, final plat and memorandum of agreement for property located south of Robbins Road and east of Newcastle Road. This will be BBAK Investments Limited.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve resolution number 29062, approving the Nottingham Hills final plat and memorandum of agreement. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving resolution number 29062, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. The resolution is approved with one abstention. I'll move the meeting back to the mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Harper?
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 29063, approving the renaming of Hampshire Drive North of Prescott Lane to Hampshire Circle.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29063, approving the renaming of Hampshire Drive North of Prescott Lane to Hampshire Circle. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 29063, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 29064, authorizing the submittal of a grant application to the Corridor Metropolitan Planning Organization for regional transportation funds in the amount of $271,000 and committing to provide local matching funds contingent upon award and acceptance of transportation grant funds regarding Phase 2 of the Marion Independent School District Safe Routes to Schools Trail.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29064, authorizing the submittal of a grant application to the Corridor Metropolitan Planning Organization for regional transportation funds in the amount of $271,000 and committing to provide local matching funds contingent upon award and acceptance of the transportation grant funds for the Phase 2 of the Marion Independent School District's Safe Routes to School Trail. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution number 29064, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 29065, authorizing the submittal of a grant application to the Corridor Metropolitan Planning Organization for regional transportation funds in the amount of $616,000 and committing to provide local matching funds contingent upon award and acceptance of transportation grant funds regarding the Lucor Road pedestrian bridge and side path project.
Second.
It has been moved by Councilmember Jensen, seconded by Councilmember Brandt, to approve resolution number 29065, authorizing the submittal of a grant application to the Corridor MPO for regional transportation funds in the amount of $616,000 and committing to provide local matching funds contingent upon award and acceptance of transportation grant funds for the Lucor Road pedestrian bridge and side path project. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, signify by saying no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 29066, approving a contract for appraisal services regarding the Seymour Trail project with Raleigh Appraisal LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29066, approving the contract for appraisal services for the Seymour Trail project with Raleigh Appraisal LLC. Discussion. All those in favor of resolution number 29066, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. Ms. Gadela?
I was halfway through it, but I was muted. Sorry. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 29067, approving a contract for appraisal services regarding the Seymour Trail project with Cook Appraisal LLC.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29067, approving a contract for appraisal services for the Seymour Trail project with Cook Appraisals LLC. Discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 29067, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 29068, approving a contract with RDG Planning and Design in the amount of $54,570 for preliminary and final design services related to 11th Street Plaza project located north of 7th Avenue and south of 8th Avenue.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29068, approving a contract with RDG Planning and Design for $54,570 for the preliminary and final design services for the 11th Street Plaza project. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 29068, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. Next on our agenda is a derecho storm response update. Is that City Manager? Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Not a lot to report on current activities at this point. Public Services has been continuing to work with our vendor to come up with the plan of attack for moving into the waterway cleanup. And at this point, it looks like we should be able to push some information out to the public next week. So encourage people to start looking at our website. Keep an eye on that for some maps and some information that'll be showing up that'll let them know what areas of the community we're going to be addressing first. So when equipment starts showing up back behind their homes, they know what's going on. But in essence, the overall plan of attack is to start on the south side of the community and move north so that we're removing all the debris. So for those of you not real familiar with that edge, that gets us all the way down past Fox Woods, all the way down near the cemetery in Cedar Rapids. So we extend quite a ways down to the south. Generally, we'll move that direction up into the north, but probably have a couple of crews working in different locations in the community concurrently. But more to come.
Okay. Questions for Lon? All right. Thank you. And thanks again to the staff for all this hard work on the cleanup and doing an excellent job. Thank you. Okay, next is a public forum, which is a time set aside for comments from the public on any item that was not on the agenda this evening. Do we have anyone address the council?
Yes, the first one is Jill Ackerman.
Okay, Jill?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to take a minute and thank the council once again. I think you can see the lights that are up in the park and the electrical is going into the roundabouts. So I wanted to recognize the city council and also certainly the Parks Department. And we've been working a lot with Zach on future budgets. If you've been on social media at all, taking a look at the comments about the winter lights, the community is loving it. So I want to thank you for that. And I especially want to acknowledge the mayor's efforts. He got really busy and went out and I know raised at least $5,500. The last time I checked, was it 6?
8.
8, who's counting? So that's awesome. And we really appreciate you leading by example and reaching higher for this project. I think it looks beautiful and I know residents are loving it.
Thank you.
You bet.
Anyone else?
Yes, we have a few people on behalf of Verizon Matt Eady and Tammy Hartman.
Okay,
Yes, thank you, Mayor Nick, council, city staff. I'm Matt 80, 6550 Aspen Drive in West Des Moines, and I'm a consultant for Verizon, have been for many years. Just wanted to take a moment to update you on our 5G rollout in the corridor. We've had great success so far on a statewide basis in implementing Verizon's latest technologies to ultimately bring 5G technology to the state of Iowa. Our focus has been on Des Moines and its suburbs, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, and adjoining communities such as Marion. And we've had some issues in Marion that have prevented the installation of our most advanced technologies. And we wouldn't be here tonight if these weren't long-standing issues. I know I was in Marion about 2 years ago, meeting with city staff to discuss these issues. And for a more detailed update, I've asked Tammy Hartman from Verizon's Minneapolis office to provide a little more detail on the ask that we have of the council, the mayor, and city staff in order to put Marion on par with a lot of other communities that are similarly situated in Iowa, those around Des Moines, those around Iowa City. And so if it's okay, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask Tammy to jump on here.
okay.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Mayor, council, and city staff. I'm Tammy Hartman. I'm the network outreach manager for Verizon, and Marion is the city in which I have been working for a little bit over a year. I took over this project from another network outreach manager. And the current agreement, what Verizon's been trying to do is update an agreement that we currently have with the city of Marion that's out of date. It needs to be updated to comply with Iowa law. And without an updated agreement, we're not able to deploy our additional technology in Marion. And we've been asking for several years to bring this to the attention of city staff, to city officials, to ask that our agreement get updated and bring the most reliable and up-to-date technology to the citizens of Marion, especially when we're all learning and working remotely. Connectivity is especially important. And so tonight we're just looking for guidance from the council to help us move this forward. Thank you.
Okay, so I think this is is that all your comments?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we appreciate your comments. I mean, this is the time to make comments, but we really can't have any real meaningful discussion among council or any deliberations. So we'll want to just set this on an agenda for the future to discuss. I hope that you understand that because it's not an agendized item, we really can't have a discussion about it. But we will work to put it on an agenda for the future.
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
And, okay, as soon as possible, we'll get it on an agenda and we'll have a discussion about it.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have a comment?
Yes, Your Honor. Is it possible just to ask a single question to clarify something that Tammy had just commented on, just so that we have that as part of our thinking going forward?
Okay, Tammy, are you still with us?
Hi, I'm still here.
Okay, so we have a council member that has a question.
Sure.
Hi, Tammy. My name is Grant Harper, one of the council members. And so I need to just preface and say I'm an old utility guy. So I want you to know that, and you'll understand the basis of my question.
Okay.
But you said there's an updated agreement that is required in order to permit you to deploy the 5G network into Marion. Can you characterize for us the deficiency of the current agreement that is an impediment to that deployment?
Oh, that is a tough question, council member. I can tell you that we use the agreement to attach to city assets. So your light poles is what we're trying to attach to, rather than deploy our own pole. So our goal really is so that we're not constructing our own small cell pole in your right of way, that we attach to an existing structure in the right of way. And the discussions have been going on for quite some time. And the latest that I've been involved in, which was in February, with your city attorney, we had discussed some red lines to the agreement, and then it just kind of fell into a vacuum. And so, and I think it had a lot to do with the attachment rate that we attach, in which we pay the city to attach to your assets. And then there was other housekeeping items in there too, but our Verizon counsel had to drop off the call. He would have a better outline of it than I would be better to speak about that than I would, but we would definitely be able to speak about it at the next opportunity we have to be on the agenda.
Okay. So we will work to get that on an agenda. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, thank
Right.
you.
Thank you, Tammy.
Absolutely.
Do you have
thank
anyone
you.
else that wanted to address council?
I did not receive anything else.
None. Okay. Okay, then we will move on to council comments. We'll start with Mr. Harper.
Yes, I just wanted to highlight, I think we all received some correspondence from a resident on McGowan Boulevard about semi-tractor trailer rigs coursing up and down on McGowan. I was sensitized to that particular complaint relative to comments that Randy has made previously just about truck impact on our roadways, et cetera. So I don't know if there's any direct treatment on that issue that the resident on McGowan was that we can take. I think it would be useful to get some independent confirmation of how much traffic of semi-tractor trailer category is going up and down McGowan, and then to understand, is there something that's causing that traffic to use McGowan versus other pathways in the city? So I don't know if there's any way that we can gain any insights to that, but I just thought it would be useful.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Councilmember Gadela, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to wish Beth the best and thank her for her decades of service. And I look forward to celebrating her on December 11th. And we'll miss her when she's no longer serving in that role, but wish her all the best. And again, super grateful for everything she's done over all the years. Thanks, Beth.
Okay, thank you. Will? Colette? Randy?
Just a comment. I think the chainsaw art that was completed over the last couple of weeks, they finished their auction on Sunday. That chainsaw art, cutting up the old trees from the derecho, raised $25,400, significantly in excess of their goal of $10,000. And that was the brainchild of the big group, a group of high school students. And so to me, what came out as just an idea ended up being wildly successful. And they did some really, really neat stuff by the artists. So if you didn't go up there and see it, they had it online. You could look at all of the items and see how they were bidding on it. So that was a very neat, very positive project for the city and for that group.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a very positive project. 60% of the funds will go to replanting trees. 40% will go to the artists themselves. So in that project, these students were supporting artists and supporting the community and doing something positive for the community, and really created some excitement at a time when we needed it for the entire, not just Marion, but for the entire region. And to watch the bidding that went on over a week's time on all these sculptures was really neat, and it was it was a lot of fun to go through that experience with the students. I want to thank again our city Public Works Department, Public Service Department, and the Parks Department, who really collaborated with the students and helped them to actually make it happen. I was able to consult with them throughout the process on ideas and help them develop their ideas, but it was really driven by the students, and they did a terrific job. I will be attending a presentation with them where they're going to be presenting the results of their project. So the money that is going to replant trees is going to Trees Forever, for a fund specifically to replant trees in Marion. So it was just a very positive project. Congratulations to the Imagine Next committee for Creekside Pride, which Will leads on the grant from the MPO that helps move that project forward. That's really exciting. Tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. will be the lighting of the peace tree, which will be live virtually online. I believe that the Chamber's Facebook page probably. So there'll be the lighting of the peace tree. The Santa parade is tomorrow evening. So the community is reimagining these events. We've always had Christmas in the Park on the first Friday of December, but because of the situation, they've reimagined the event. So we'll do the lighting the peace tree, and Santa will be doing a parade on a fire truck through the community. And so there are 3 different routes, and we want to get the word out for people to go out and greet Santa. Along the way, they'll be collecting blankets and mittens and hats for the Keep Your Neighbor Warm project. So thank you to everybody who's made that happen. There's a lot of excitement about that project. I also want to thank everyone for their collaboration and the many businesses that donated for the Lights project. This was a year when we really needed more cheer, and I think we have a good start to a new program. I think when people see the result, it'll be much easier for businesses and others to donate in the future to help grow that and to make it even better. And there's just a lot of excitement in the community about it. So I want to thank everyone who played a part in that and making it happen. I drove by the East End, at least the East End roundabout before the meeting, and I saw the installations were in the roundabout, so they weren't lit, but we'll look forward to seeing those lit up, and there'll be some in the West End roundabout also. Other than that, want to enjoy your early Christmas presents from me. I think that was a really great picture, and I just wanted everyone to have it framed. So, okay, with that, thank you very much. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time. Meeting is adjourned.